All right, so you should have had a minute to write down the before question that you were wondering. Something happened with my camera, so that would have given you plenty of think time. I'm gonna write down the question I'm wondering. Now, here's what I'd like you to do. Because I can't hear your questions, I want you to also write down mine. So when I stop and think, or when I stop and give you think time to write down a question, you better be writing one down. But then you're also going to write down mine. Sometimes we might be wondering the same thing. So then no, you don't have to write it down if it's the same thing, okay? But I'm wondering, is this her horse? So is that her horse? That's my question before I even start the story. So we don't know the answer to it, right? We're gonna wait and do this at the end. So you should have at least one question. It might be the same one. If it's not, you should have two. So after that last line that you wrote on, I want you to go ahead and skip a line and draw a line, okay? So good readers ask questions before. They ask questions what? During. So let's go ahead and on the next line, write during. Okay? So this is where I'm gonna stop at certain points and have you write down questions that you're wondering. So right now you can just sit back and relax and listen to this story, The Girl Who Loved Wild Horses. The people were always moving from place to place following the herds of buffalo. They had many horses to carry the teepees and all their belongings. They trained their fastest horses to hunt the buffalo. Now, I'm not going to stop and ask you to write down a question, but I'm just going to kind of model my thinking out loud. Why do they hunt buffalo? That is a question that I am wondering. If you want to write that down, you can, or you can just stop at the points where I want you to, okay? There was a girl in the village who loved horses. She would often get up at daybreak when the birds were singing and about the rising sun. She led the horses to drink at the river. She spoke softly and they followed. People noticed that she understood horses in a special way. She knew which grass they liked best and where to find them shelter from the winter blizzards. If a horse was hurt, she looked after it. All right, again, I'm thinking out loud. You might be wondering some questions. How does she know so much about horses? That's another question that's popped into my head. You can write it down or you don't have to. Every day, when she helped her mother carry water and collect firewood, she would run off to be with the horses. She stayed with them in the meadows, but was careful never to go beyond sight of home. I'm wondering, why wouldn't she ever want to go beyond the sight of her home? Is it dangerous there? Could there be something, an animal or people that might harm them? One hot day when the sun was overhead, she felt sleepy. She spread her blanket and lay down. It was nice to hear the horses eating and moving slowly among the flowers. Soon she fell asleep. A faint rumble of distant thunder did not waken her. Angry clouds began to roll out across the sky with lightning flashing in the darkness beneath. But the fresh breeze and scent of rain made her sleep soundly. Again, I'm just thinking out loud. Is she gonna be okay? Is the storm going to be dangerous, or is it just going to be one of those nice afternoon rain showers? All right, this is where I'm going to read, and I want you to come up with your first during question, okay? Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning, a crash and rumbling which shook the earth. The girl leapt to her feet in fright. Everything was awake. Horses were rearing up on their hind legs and snorting in terror. She grabbed a horse's mane and jumped on his back. Go ahead and write down a question that you are wondering right now. Okay? If you're still thinking, pause and write down your question. All right, so by now, you should have written down your first question. And I'll reread it again. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning, a crash and rumbling, which shook the earth. The girl leapt to her feet in fright. Everything was awake. Horses were rearing up on their hind legs and snorting in terror. She grabbed a horse's mane and jumped on his back. I'm wondering, where is she going to go? That's my question. Okay, you might have that same question, or you might have a different one. So write that down if that's different. And don't forget, every time you're putting a question mark. All right, this is where we can start kind of thinking about our answers. We're not going to answer them yet, but some of them might start to get answered now. I got my marker. All right. In an instant, the herd was galloping away like the wind. She called to the horses to stop, but her voice was lost in the thunder. Nothing could stop them. She hugged her horse's neck with her fingers, twisted into his mane. She clung on, afraid, and falling under the drumming hooves. She was afraid of falling, so she didn't fall. Remember, I'm just modeling my thinking aloud. Is she going to be okay? What's going to happen to her? Are the horses ever going to stop? All right, here's your last question for today. The horses galloped faster and faster, pursued by the thunder and lightning. They swept like a brown flood across the hills and through valleys. Fear drove them on and on, leaving their familiar grazing grounds far behind. At last, the storm disappeared over the horizon. The tired horses slowed and then stopped and rested. Stars came out and the moon shone over the hills. The girl had never seen before. She knew they were lost. Go ahead and write down your last question for today. Tomorrow we'll read the rest of the story. So what are you wondering? I'm wondering, how is she ever going to get back home? So we're still under during. Okay, so do me the favor, you should have 2 questions right now. And if you want to go ahead right underneath, because we also want to make sure we're answering our questions tomorrow. Draw a line underneath each of your questions. So yours should look just like mine, so that when we do answer it, we have it nice and organized, okay? So hopefully now you understand a little bit more if you didn't already, how to ask questions as we're reading. And I'm probably pretty positive that you already do this strategy, okay? So right now you should have at least 3 questions, but you might have 6 questions, right? So tomorrow we will finish the story. We will see what happens. I don't know about you, but I am wondering a lot of things. I can't wait to read the rest tomorrow. Bye.